Hello everybody, welcome to SharePoint Power Hour. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm broadcasting from the beach today, and I don't have my normal headset or any of my normal audio equipment, and I don't have anyone else in the chat room to confirm as to whether or not you can hear me, but it looks like you can. Looks like my webcam keeps randomly zooming in and out. Let me check that real quick. Put it on different webcam, they won't do that. Here we go. Maybe my integrated webcam won't keep zooming in and out like that. All right. This is SharePoint Power Hour, and I look very grainy here because I've got the beach background behind me. But this is Laura Rogers, and this is our weekly show that we do, which is Power Hour is just business solutions having to do with anything you can do in SharePoint out of the box. Just, basically entails anything like workflows, forms, BI, governance, discussions like that, social stuff, anything that's not code or central admin or PowerShell. So I'm the only one today. We have other people are teaching training classes and just doing various and sundry, out on site with clients and things like that. So again, I'm Laura Rogers. I'm the Microsoft MVP, and this is a show that we do every Wednesday at 11 Central. This show is actually part 4 of an HR onboarding solution that I started building. I started building it out live. It's basically a workflow that's got several different complex steps, which is sort of simulates a real-life workflow that you might have. It's an onboarding process. So let me see. Go ahead and show you. I'll share my screen, and then you won't have to see my brainy face anyway. But we'll go ahead and pull up that PowerPoint and show you what the process is. So we've got the 3 previous Power Hours that we had. I started building it out basically just in front of you, just building the whole thing from scratch. And so you could always go back and watch those to see the progress and basically, hit pause every now and then and try and do it yourself if you'd like. It's actually a lot easier than writing out all the steps and doing screenshots for a book. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up where I left off. Don't forget to go ahead and use the Q&A app in the Google Hangout to ask me questions. I'm just on my laptop today. I don't have multiple monitors that I usually monitor, and I don't have multiple people in here like I usually do to let me know when there are questions. So I'm going to be able to monitor the Q&A app a little bit as I go, but it won't be as easy to go monitor the website, the comments on the YouTube channel as well. So just let me know, and just go ahead and say hi in the Q&A app if you want to, just to kind of let me know you're out there. I can see that there are 7 of you. But I'm going to go ahead and dive back into where I left off on the HR onboarding process. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Full screen. There we go. Okay, so there's my email there. And I've got my VM here. All right, let me go ahead and log into that site. And SharePoint Designer. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you the diagram just to kind of refresh your memory. Here it is. This is the submit a new hire form, and then you have manager approval as the first step. Then you have 3 parallel tasks: HR send welcome packet, IT create user account, phone setup. All can happen at the same time at any point in any order. And then after all 3 of those are done, it's going to move on. I've got a little condition here. If they're in IT, you have this little special security thing that has to happen. Otherwise, it just goes to HR approval, and then the employee goes to orientation, and then you're done. So now that you've seen that, I'll go ahead and pick and maximize my VM screen here. Alrighty. Okay, so again, here's our site that we were working on, and we have our new hire list here. And we started running one workflow, and we tested it. So what I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to start a new one and run it just to see where we left off, just as a good kind of to get a feel for that. So I'm going to go home and I'm going to fill out another new hire. I'm going to say Jennifer Mason is my new hire. Oops. Let's see, Contoso, job title, she's going to be a system engineer, and blah, 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 etc. Just making some stuff up here. Okay, and then who is the hiring manager? That's important, so I think that Paula will be the hiring manager. And the employee type. Corporate executive or operations, and we can make the workflow do something different, like, and we have it doing high priority tasks if they're an executive. And then the new hire account is actually something that I'm supposed to have hiding from this form. I can go, hide it in a minute, but that's actually going to get set up since they're a brand new hire. They're, starting out the new hire process. They're not going to have an account yet, so it's not going to be something they have to fill out in that first step. All right, so now I've submitted my form, so the workflow should be going on that first one. So let's go see what's happening. So it looks like I kicked it off. I'm just going to hit refresh on this page. And I might not, in my workflow settings, I might not have set it up yet to automatically start when as soon as I create a new item. So let me go make sure, see what I did. I might have to just go manually trigger that one. All right, so I did set it up to allow it to be manually started and start automatically when the item is created, but guess what? I am logged in. This is good troubleshooting. I am logged in as, look over here, system account. When you're logged in as system account, the workflow is not going to automatically trigger. So that is why it didn't do that. So I'm actually going to have to go manually trigger this one, and I guess next time we run it, I can go log in as me and just do that. So I'm going to hit workflows, and I allowed it to be manually triggered for testing anyway. In the real life, you might not want to have that showing there. You wouldn't want them just to be able to trigger that at any point, All right, so I'm going to go refresh this list now and see if it actually started. I might have to go log in as somebody else. Let's see. Okay, so it says it's on the, okay, it's going. So it's running. It says it's on the status of set variables. So I'll go ahead and see if I refresh that again. And I'm going to go click on this. Let's see if it's got a problem. It actually might be a problem because of me being logged in the system account. Because I actually ran this last time right before we stopped, and it functioned correctly. So I'm going to, that's fine, I'm going to go over to my other VM here, my Windows 8 VM that I just have like multiple just end user accounts that I can log in with, and I'm just going to use that. And in the meantime, I'm going to flip over and see if anybody has any questions. All right. I kind of want to get some feedback from you guys to make sure that you're there and this is functioning and you can hear me. So go ahead and somebody at least make some kind of question or comment in there just for testing purposes. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go over to my HR Onboarding demo site as Laura. So I'm logged in as Laura. And I'll go over to my new hire list and see what's going on there. So I can go troubleshooting, yay. Oh, so it's suspended. So I'm going to go kill that. I'm going to go end it. So hopefully that's just, the problem is just because I was logged in a system account, but we'll see. So that's part of this, me building this live in front of you, that's kind of part of the whole reason I'm doing it, is to go through all these troubleshooting steps that you go through as you're building workflows, because there are always lots of them. All right, so I'm going to go kick this off again. All right, it takes me right back to the list when I kick it off. So let me go refresh this and see if it's going to function this time. All right, so look at that. So it did. So it must have been, the only difference was who I was logged in. So I'm logged in as Laura, and it works fine. So now it's in the manager approval stage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go look at my list of tasks over here. So go site contents and go to workflow tasks, or I can just click workflow tasks over here. And once I click on workflow tasks, I can see that there's a task out here that's ready to be taken care of. Now, as I'm troubleshooting, and as I keep putting all this test data into my lists, it's going to help me to actually to go ahead and build out like a dashboard for each employee. So I'm actually going to go ahead and do that pretty soon in the testing process. We'll go ahead and get to at least to the next step where it sends out the 3 parallel tasks. But we're going to go ahead and get the dashboard built pretty soon so that as we're testing this, we'll be able to quickly see the list of tasks that are associated with each specific employee. All right, so here's Jennifer's task. She just has to approve a new hire. I'm going to go hit Edit Item, and then she's just going to approve it. And remember, we actually are going to have to do some conditions in the workflow to make it do something different if they approve it versus if they reject it. So let me go flip back over to, oops, let me see, desktop. Flip back over to the Google Hangout, see if they're, okay, good. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for letting me know that you can hear me. I'm sorry it looks so weird when I flip over that screen. Okay. All right, back to my VM. Okay, so I'm going to refresh this and just see if those, see if any more tasks. So we have to figure out where we left off. So let's go over to the workflow and see what it's doing. I'll go to the new hire list and see, look, okay, so it got to the point where it's going to do the 3 parallel tasks. So it says, it set it to high. The priority got set to high because the employee's an executive. It set the date variable, because remember we're doing this logging all throughout so we can see what's going on. It created the manager task. The manager did their thing, and then it says time for the 3 parallel tasks. So that's where we left off with the workflow. So I'm going to go back over to here and go to SharePoint Designer and go edit the workflow. Alrighty, so we have to do a transition. So we're going to use our transition to go over to the right part of the workflow according to if they approved or rejected it. So this is it, right where when I left off. I pointed out the fact that when this workflow task, the manager approval, got created, when it created the task, it gave me this variable, this task GUID, and that's nice to have that in my workflow because then I can go point to whatever specific task is associated with the manager approval. So that way, when I wait for the hiring status to equal onboarding on progress, and then I can go look at that specific task and see if it equals approved or not. So I said I want to know the task outcome from the workflow task where the GUID of that task, so it's just a field in here, is equal to my variable that I have in my workflow of the task GUID. So once those match, if those match, it goes to this step of 3 parallel tasks. If not, if it's not approved, it's going to be rejected, so I'm going to go to my rejected stage. And then all I have it doing right now is just logging that they were rejected. Okay, so for the 3 parallel tasks, I'm doing a variable for whenever it's going to be due. So I'm just going to say they're due in 2 days, and I'm creating those 3 tasks. So let's go see. It's creating my new hire account tasks. So I give it a task name, etc., and I fill in all the fields that I need to fill in. So that's all correct. It's doing my new hire phone task, and it's doing my send welcome packet task to the HR welcome packet people. And then what needs to happen? This is the part, so look at when I created the workflow task before, when I log manager task created, I'm going to do log 3 parallel tasks created, and then I'm going to wait. So what am I going to wait for? I decided I'm going to use math, and that's what I kind of started talking about at the end of the last session. So I'm going to say wait for field change in current item, and I added a field called, I'm basically counting the number of parallel tasks. So I'll just have to remember what I called that field. And I know I created it right before we left off last time. I can hear my baby talking in the background. My parents are taking care of that. Here it is, parallel count to equal 3. Since we don't know what order they're going to be completed in, we're just going to say we're going to count this number up each time one of them gets completed. So then we're just going to wait for the parallel count to equal 3 and then move on to the next transition. Okay, and then go to the next approval step. Okay, so then once those tasks get completed though, we need to go increment that number up each time one of those tasks gets completed. So here I started doing it. If the task name begins with create new account, calculate the new hire parallel count plus 1, and then update the item in the new hire list. So it's putting the new parallel count from my variable, and it's putting the new hire account that they typed in. And then if it begins with create new phone and saying new hire parallel count plus 1, so it's going to increment it and then update. Same thing, parallel count and business phone. And then we're going to do the same thing for the HR welcome tasks. So first of all, what exactly are we calling the task? Send welcome packet. So I'm going to say if it starts with send welcome packet, I'm going to do another else here. So else branch is grayed out here for some reason. See, I had to like put it here and it's grayed out. And I put my cursor here and it's grayed out. It's so funky in 2013 workflows how you have to do an else if branch. I have to go way down in here like this and then do my else branch. And then it's like it keeps nesting them and nesting them. It's so funky. All right, so if current else if any value equals any value. See how it does that? That's so strange. It doesn't work. It's not normal. All right. If current item task name begins with, I'm going to flip over in a second and make sure that I don't have any questions here real quick. Nope, no questions. Okay. Okay, so it begins with, what was it again? Send welcome packet. Okay. It's also case sensitive. And I'm going to calculate, do that same exact calculation. Actually, I don't even have to type this again because I can just copy this. Copy, I think last time I tried to copy it and paste it, didn't work. Okay, there it is. Parallel count, where the ID is matched into the new hire lookup field in my task list, plus 1, and then it outputs to my variable count plus 1, and then updates the item over in the new hire list. So I'm going to do copy, paste. I love the copy and paste. Update the item. So I'm going to say parallel count is now going to be equal to this new variable over here, and I don't need to do the business phone thing. The welcome packet was just completed or not. It didn't have an extra field or anything for them to fill in. So that is such a time saver, being able to do the copy and paste like that. All right, so then once those 3 are completed, then this one is going to say and then it's going to wait for parallel count to equal 3 over here, and then what's it going to do? So then it's going to go, those don't have to be approved or rejected, so we don't have to do any kind of like condition to say where it's going to go next. But I'm going to create another stage anyway just to have it nice and organized. So I don't want to transition to any stage. I want to go to, this is going to be that security approval. So actually, the condition I'm doing is not going to be whether it was approved or rejected, but it's going to be whether they're in IT or not. Because remember, I had that little condition in the little diagram I showed you. So if they're in IT, we have to do security approval. If they're not in IT, we're just going to skip that and go straight to HR approval. So I'm going to delete this little go to into the workflow thing and go if. Okay, so if my current item department, so this is going to be the department that the employee is in. Gotta find it. I know I'm asking the department. Let me see. Might have to go back over and look at that and make sure I have department as a field, because that's going to be important. It might not have been. It might have been one of those ones that I decided to hide or something. So we'll go double check that. Okay, so site content types. I've got my new hire demo. That's that contact content type, and it doesn't look like it has department in it. Am I missing anything? Let's see. Let's add from existing site column. And I'm going to go add department. I know department just happens to be an existing site column that comes with SharePoint that you're always going to have, so I'm just going to use that one. Okay, so I added department to it. So now department is going to be an additional field that they're going to be filling out when they have a new hire. So I'm going to go ahead and move this up to number 3. Click OK. All right, so now department is something they're going to be filling out with a new contact. And let's go over to the new hire list and make sure that that department made it in here. So there it is. It's the third one down. So I added at the content type level, and it got pushed down to the list itself. So now, once I go over to, let me check for questions. Once I go back over to the workflow manager, what do I have to remember to do? Since I just added a new column here, I have to remember to hit the refresh button, so it can know any changes that I made over in SharePoint. Okay, so it finished refreshing, so now department should, yep, now it's in there. Okay, if department equals IT, then go to, and in the real world you probably have a drop-down list of departments, but for now I'm just leaving it as a freeform text box. So if it equals IT, then go to security approval. And then otherwise, go to, and go to is the only action it lets you put in these transitions. Then I'm going to go to my HR. I'm just going to skip the security and go to HR approval. And then after security approval, it's going to go to HR approval, because all they're doing is they're not actually doing an approval. So I'm going to rename. This is a misnomer, so I'm going to rename it so I don't confuse myself, because they're actually not going to be doing an approval or rejection. They're just going to be completing a task. So I'm going to security task, HR approval, and then after security task, I'm going to HR approval, and then after HR approval, I'm going to be there's going to be orientation. So I'll just fill in orientation here, and then I'm going to go ahead and add a stage in here called completed too. And just build all these out, all this little logic of going from stage to stage. So after HR approval, this one's actually going to be a condition. So it's going to say if the task that I'm going to create equals approved, it's going to go to orientation. Otherwise, it's going to go to rejected. So if I'm just going to use task GUID. So I already had variable already exists. If task GUID equals, over in the workflow task list. I got a little ahead of myself with my workflow tasks. It's confused. Sorry, it's not showing the right things in the drop-down box here. See, it's thinking. It's like trying to write back to SharePoint there. Okay, while it's doing that, I'm going to go check the questions. No questions. You guys are quiet. All right. Well, I didn't tweet this out today since I'm on vacation. I haven't been on Twitter all week, so maybe that's why we don't have as many people. Okay, so now this is like taking a really long time to go talk to SharePoint, trying to figure out what it's doing. Okay, so if, clear that out because that's not what I meant to put in there. I'm going to say workflow tasks, outcome. Well, not flow workflow variables. Workflow tasks, outcome field, task outcome, where the GUID of the task is equal to my workflow variable, task GUID, if that outcome equals approved, then go to orientation, otherwise go to rejected. And then after they go to orientation, that's just something they complete. It's not approval or rejected, so they're just going to go to something else. So go to completed. And then after it's completed, it's just the end of the workflow. So go to end of workflow, and then if it's rejected, it's end of the workflow. So at least we got all our little stages built out this time. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, so wait for new hire to equal onboarding in progress, wait for parallel count to equal 3, and then transition, if it's IT, go here, and then my security task. Okay, so let's see what the pattern is that I'm doing here. So I'm going to say log. Time for the security task because employee is in IT. Okay, and then this is where I have to calculate my due date again. So all I have to do is copy and paste. Okay, so I'm adding 2 days to whenever it was modified, giving my 2 days from now variable. Then I'm just going to take one of these tasks and just copy it, and then just modify a little bit of it. Okay, create an item in the workflow task. So this one is going to be my security task. So, so I just clicked on this. So this is not going to be my new hire account task. This is going to be my new hire completed, because all the, remember the content, all those content types I created? Remember the one for someone just completing something and not having to approve or reject or fill out any extra fields? That was this particular content type that I created. So I'm going to make it that content type, and then my task is going to be security task. I'm just going to say security task, very creative. And assign to, so that's going to be, I wonder if I have a group for that. Let's see if I had created a group. Let's go look at my SharePoint groups and see which one I'm going to use, or which one I created, whatever the name of it is. Or I could just look in here. Not that one. Yeah, I didn't create a IT. Yep, I did. Look at that. IT security. There it is. Okay, so that's the who. Security is going to get it. And then please do your. This is an. Please complete the security configuration. Whatever. All right. Okay, start date now. It hasn't been started yet. Priority is my priority variable, so it's always going to be high if it's an executive. And my due date is my due date variable. And of course, my new hire lookup is a lookup of whatever the ID is of my current item. All right, so I create the item in the task list, and then I wait. So what am I going to wait for? So I'm going to wait for, I'm just going to say, let's see, wait for field and item. Wait for field change. Hire status to equal. And what are my choices here? So HR approval, because that's when it's time to go to HR approval. So that's what I'm going to wait for. I'm going to wait for it to equal HR approval and then go to HR approval. And then I'm just going to log something. Okay, so how is this going to equal HR approval ever? So when that specific task gets completed, it's going to equal HR approval. It's going to actually set the status to equal HR approval for that task. This is starting to really annoy me over here in this task, in this stage, with the way it keeps nesting all these ifs. That is such a mess. I don't like that. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just move this down and move it out of there. so I've got an if and I've got an else. And I'm gonna keep moving it down. I'm gonna move it completely out of my. See, it's all these lines on the left. It's completely out of. It's not inside of that other if statement anymore. It's just by itself. So I'm gonna do that with this one too. Okay, I'm gonna take away this else right here. Okay, and just take this if statement. It's just starting to irk me. It's just me being a little OCD here. Moving it outside. So if this happens, do this. If this happens, do this. And I'm not putting any else's in there. I'm just, because it's only going to have, this task name is only going to have, begin with one of these things. So it's not, I don't have to do else's for these things. Okay. And then this one, take away the else. So it's going to be a lot neater. That's what I'm going for here. I want it to make sense and not look so convoluted. Okay, now they're all parallel. Let me see if y'all have any questions. No questions? Oh, y'all are very easy. People are dropping off though, so this must be a really boring one. Okay. Okay, so this one, don't need the else, and I'm going to move this out. So if it equals completed, I want it to do all these things. But if it's not equal to completed, I want it to stop. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move this out. So that's why I had that inside of an if statement in the first place. So if it doesn't equal completed, I want the workflow to stop. So how do I do that? I don't have a stop action anymore in SharePoint Designer 2013 workflows. I'm actually going to put that as a transition. So watch this. I'm going to rearrange this a little bit. So I'm going to say, let's see, tasks, and I'm going to move that, let's see, task, check, task completion. And I'm going to move that up, move the whole stage up. So that's what's going to happen first, right here. So if it doesn't equal completed, I want it to go, I want it to stop. And if it does equal to completed, I want it to do everything else. So that's actually just going to be my transition. So log, start, check, check completed. And then if, I wonder if it'll let me just move this right into there. No, it didn't let me move it into the transition. It's okay. If current item task status, not equals completed. Okay. And status equals completed. Go to stage 1. Otherwise, go to end of workflow. So there you go. So that's how I did that. Made it a lot neater. I want the workflow to end immediately if the task is not completed. If somebody's just editing it and not completing it, and then if it is completed, it's going to go to. I'm just going to rename this and call it completed tasks. There we go. Whatever. I like the way it renames that immediately as I change it. That's nice. Okay, so we're keeping this nice and organized. So if it begins with, and we get to figure out what the next one is going to be, I called it, so this one's security task. It begins with security task. What do I want to do? So if it begins with security task, I want it to, let me think. I want to make sure this logic in this is going to work correctly. So I want it to wait for the higher status to equal HR approval. And then if it's, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, we'll test this along the way too. So task name, sorry about the crying baby. All right, begins with security task. That's what I was looking for. Okay, yep. Task, the task name begins with security task. Then do what? So calculate. And so I'm not going to calculate this one. Remember I had to calculate for the 3 parallel tasks? They don't have a calculating thing because it's not parallel with anything. If it's equal to that, I'm just going to change the new hire status. Okay. So I'm going to say update. Update item over in the HR hire list, the new hire list. I'm going to say set the field of hire status to HR approval, where the ID of the new hire is equal to my current item new hire lookup field. And remember that got filled in whenever the thing first got created from in the SharePoint from the other workflow when the list item got created. I think I was using, let's see, lookup ID here. Let me double check that and all these other ones. Yeah, lookup ID is integer. Lookup ID as integer, okay, because the other one didn't work when I did that. Okay, time to test it. So I'm going to go publish this. Right before I was about to come in here and do Power Hour. So we're here at the beach with my parents and my children and everybody. My dad decided to make nachos and cooked them in the oven and all this stuff. And he did that right before I came in here to teach Power Hour. So now they're probably all going to be gone when I get back out there. The things I do. So how often does the workflow loop? Oh, wait, let me see. Okay, Carlos, well, how often does the workflow loop while it is checking for the 3 tasks to complete? It's not looping at all. It's just waiting for the number 3 in the parallel task field. Now, if you can think of a way to utilize looping to make it accomplish the same thing, that would be really interesting if you could tell me that. But what I'm doing is the tasks are over in the task list being completed, and each one that gets completed, it's incrementing the number up in just a single number field. And then the workflow on the HR list, the new hire list, is just waiting for that number to equal 3, and that's it. So let me know if that makes sense, or let me know if there would be another way to do that. Okay. Okay, I've published both workflows. Now let me go ahead and I'll go ahead and just do a new person. I need to make sure and fill out the department field, and I want to make sure I put IT as the department. Let's see, this is going to be hiring manager. That's important. I actually should probably put that as a required field in here. And it's good enough. Okay, all right, so I filled them out, so let's go over and look. Okay, so it hasn't kicked off yet. Let me see. Oh, look at that. See, I ran out of system account. Duh. All right, we'll go back over to that other one. New hire list. New hire list. Okay, and then I'll have to go manually trigger it, so I forgot to. Hold on, let me kill that other one. I don't want to have like the same workflow trying to run twice and confusing me. Okay, so it's not running. I'm going to run it now. Okay. Now I'm waiting for it to run. Now, as I get more and more new hires in here, again, I mentioned the dashboard. I'm going to go ahead and create a dashboard because I'm going to go through this process with Ben, and I want to be able to see all the tasks that are associated with him. And I want to be able to see them in one place and not have to see all these other ones associated with other employees because I don't want to be confused. Okay, so let's do that. So what is where can I put my dashboard? I have to have a place to put it. I have to have a library to put my dashboard in. Or I can use Site Pages, which is already a library to put stuff like that in. I like using web part pages to do this instead of those wiki pages because they annoy me and they randomly make just web parts disappear and stuff like that. So I'm going to create a new library, add an app, document library, advanced options, and I'm going to call this dashboards, and I'm going to use a web part page as the template. Okay, and then in this new library, when I click new document, can't create a web part page with the current browser? Are you kidding me? Let me see if it's in the compatibility view here. Contoso.com, there we go. I'm going to go to my dashboards library and try that again. Thank you. Okay, so we call it new hire.aspx. Okay, here's my dashboard, and I'm going to have information about a single new hire on this dashboard. And I'm going to have associated tasks and anything else associated that I want to have, all on the same dashboard around a single new hire. Okay, don't need that. Phone numbers are not going to be that important, stuff like that in this process. I'm just going to see, email address, sure. Department's important as part of my workflow. Hire status, hiring manager is important. New hire count, I need to be able to see some of that. That's my workflow, so I'll check that too. And I'm only going to show a single record. So my item limit, I'm just going to say 1 and limit, because it's going to point to this dashboard, which is automatically going to show a specific new hire in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use what's called a query string to be able to send query string information to all the web parts on this page. So with the enterprise version of SharePoint, there is a web part called the query string filter web part. So I'm going to use the query string URL filter. And again, with wiki pages, and when you put a filter web part on the page, it just disappears and it's really hard to deal with. So I'm going to call this I'm just going to call this hire. So it's going to say, the URL is going to be like newhire.aspx hire equals, and then it's going to have a number. And I'm going to use just the ID of that hire to be able to show that specific one. So I'll show you how that works real quick. So connection, send filter value to, and my new hire list. So I'm going to say get a filter value to filter it to show a single person, and I'm just going to say the ID. Okay, so now let me just show you how this works. So newhire.aspx hire equals, and you can't see what I'm typing, hire equals, I'll just put a 3 in there. So Jennifer Mason was the third one that I added, ID 3 in that list. When I hover over her name, you can see in the little status bar at the very bottom, somewhere in that URL, it says ID equals 3. That's the third, new hire. So that's unique, and I know that's going to be unique. That's why I'm using that as my dashboard, as my number that I send to the items in the dashboard. Now, for all the other items in the dashboard, like the workflow tasks, I need to be able to have that same number to be able to send that ID from the query string to all it needs to match up. They all have number to filter the right information. So my workflow tasks, which is the name of the new hire that it's associated with, but I don't have the ID in there. So if I try to match the query string, which is a number, to this new hire lookup, which is a word, it is actually not going to filter that properly. So here's what I can do. I go to my list settings in my task list and go to my lookup field, the new hire lookup. Now, click on that. And then in addition to the person's name, I'm going to also pull over the ID of that item. So click OK. And now, there it is. So you can see the one for Jennifer Mason actually says the 3 next to it because that's the ID of that item. So you see how that works. So each new hire has an ID. So I'm going to have multiple tasks for each single new hire. So let's go back over to my dashboard. And I can put the task list on there now, match it up as well. And any other lists that I have, again, that might be associated. Oh, here's a trick. Task list. When you try to put a task list web part on a page like this and try to do a connection to it, it'll let you do a connection, but then it won't work. It won't filter. It's just a bug in 2013. So here's the way I figured out to work around it. Just kind of a little side note here. You can't, like this view, this out-of-the-box view has this pretty timeline and all this stuff. It's because it's using the out-of-the-box default style for the view that it doesn't let you connect things to it. So I'll just go create a new view and call it, I'll show you all I do different. I'll just call it what part. And then I have to get rid of some of this stuff. It's the style that matters here. So I'm just going to say on basic table instead of default, just anything except for default. See, it doesn't have all that stuff, a timeline and all that stuff. So there it is. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard, and when I add my task list to the dashboard, stupid bugs, right? Okay. I'm going to pick the web part view, which will then allow me to send connections to it. Okay, so I'm going to take the same query string filter, web part, send filter also to the workflow tasks. And then it's the new hire lookup ID. So it's not the ID of the task itself, it's the ID that it's doing a lookup to of the new hire themselves. So let's try this again. So I'll do new hire.aspx question mark hire equals 3. And now it's showing that particular employee and that the text that's associated with that new hire, and it even shows me like that little filter icon. I don't have to show this new hire lookup column here. I just want to show you what it looks like. I can fine tune that and get rid of some stuff. Let me check the questions real quick. Stacy said, I can't believe Microsoft doesn't fix that compatibility issue. I know. When are if you can do that? Hello. That's right. I agree. Okay. Got like 10. No. Here's my URL that I need to get to the dashboard. So how I get to this board? I want people to be able to get to it from the new hire list. So I can take this and copying this to the clipboard, and I'm going to flip back over to my other where I have SharePoint Designer open, and I go to my actual new hire list here in SharePoint Designer, and this is what the custom actions are. So don't click the new button here, but if you just put your cursor in this bottom part where it says there are no items to show in this view, then you'll see this custom actions ribbon, and that lets you pick a specific type of custom action. So I'll do a list item menu first, and I'll just call it dashboard. And where do I want to navigate to? So I want to navigate to this URL. I can get rid of the beginning, just make it relative. And hire equals, and look at that. I can just use item ID in brackets like that. Hire equals, and then whatever the ID is of that item. And then it helps to have a pretty little button to associate it with it. And I can say what order I want it to show in as well. I like it to be the first one in the drop-down box. So I will need to have a button image or else it's not going to be very useful. So because now it exists, and now I'll refresh my list here. And I go here and see dashboard right here. So I can go to the dashboard for Ben Ross, and now it's got Ben Ross's new hire list item and Ben Ross's workflow task. But there are different types of custom actions I can do. So like I can do the display form ribbon. So when I'm looking at that new hire form itself, I can see that. So I'll just call that one dashboard as well. I can just call them all dashboard, it doesn't matter. See new hire dashboard. Okay. And then navigate to the URL. Same thing. Hire equals, and then this one gets 2 button images because it could show up in a couple of different places. So, like when I open up this new hire, see it says dashboard and it's got this ugly little square because I didn't do an icon yet. So let me go look. I think I actually have some icons already uploaded in like my root level here, so I can just point to one of those. You could just have like a general place in SharePoint that you keep that stuff. Site collection images, I think I have it in there. Maybe. The one I have in mind is this one. So it says 16 by 16, and this one's 32 by 32. You can tell I created those just for this purpose because it tells you in there what specific size it needs to be. Copy shortcut. This is the 16 by 16 one, and there it is. Button image URL 16 by 16. Okay, and then when we do, I think this other one. That one, yeah, that one needs a 16 by 16 also. Okay, so I put that in both places, and now I need to do go grab the URL for the 32 by 32. Just right-clicking and doing copy shortcut there, and then go here. And then it'll be a lot prettier when I look at it in SharePoint. And then I'll go ahead and finish testing the workflow in my 7 minutes, and then after we test it, then we'll pick up next time we do this with wherever we were. Okay, so new hire list, and now I can go to a specific new hire and go to the dashboard, and then I can go ahead and open that task up and complete it. I actually want to be able to take them directly to the edit item page also so that they can have their approve or reject buttons and things like that. So I'll approve that one, and then refresh the page. And still says that it's in manager approval status. So let's see what's going on. Maybe it's just taking a minute. Oh, I'm logged in the system account. God darn it. That's what happened. So the workflow over on the task list didn't get kicked off because I was logged in the system account. Good grief. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go over to, I'm just going to refresh, put it back on new hire equals 4. And this thing, the workflow didn't get kicked off when I completed the task. So I have to go, see, let's see, check task completion. It got kicked off, but it errored out because it was logged in as a system account, just like that other one did a few minutes ago. Okay, so I'm going to go do that again. Go back to here, workflows, and then run that. Okay, now it should be doing what it's supposed to be doing. Oh, look at that. Awesome. Okay, so now I have 3. So I have approved new hire. Refresh that again. Create new account, create new phone, and send welcome packet. And then another thing I can do in this view is I can like group them by status so that they don't get all mixed up together, just, you know, alphabetically or whatever. So I'll go ahead and do new phone first. Go edit that and say, all right, so I went ahead and created their new phone number, so I'm going to go ahead and type it in here. We need to make sure this is required also. We'll do that later. We need to make sure this is required on the task in that task content type so that they have to fill that out before they can complete their task. So I'll just click the button for completed. Okay, so that one's completed. I'll refresh the page. See, it says completed. And then I'll go ahead and what I can do is I can go look at the other item also and see what that that parallel task item looks like over in my new hire list. Let me add that to my view so I can see what it's doing. That's just for fun, just to see what it's doing as it's incrementing those up. So see, it counted it up to 1. Awesome. All right, let's go back over to Ben's dashboard. Okay, and create their new account. Edit item, and what is the new account? Again, this one has to be made required. Okay, Ben Ross, and then hit completed. Okay, so that one got completed. Cool, and then this one's the send welcome packet. I'm just going to go straight to the edit item and just say, okay, I did this. Okay, and refresh that. Woohoo, look at that, and it moved on. It saw that he was in the IT department, and it went to the IT security task. Pretty awesome. And then I will edit that, and go ahead and mark that as completed. And I don't think I did the rest of the workflow from see it went the wrong way, so it went to rejected. So that's kind of where I left off with the workflow. So we have to kind of pick up at the security task and go into HR approval and make sure that works correctly, because nobody rejected this, but it says rejected. So we just have to figure that part out next. Okay, let's see. Stacy says, how would you filter the dashboard based on the user the tasks are assigned to? You can just do a filter of assigned to is equal to me. One thing about that is if it's assigned to a group, it's not necessarily going to know that. So I wrote a blog post about how to do that in, well, let me show you. Go back over here. See, there's in a task list, just one of the out-of-the-box views that it gives you. At least in up to SharePoint 2010 was one called My Group Tasks. And so what I did was I went and dissected it, and I figured out how to make it so that you could create your own view that shows you only stuff that's assigned to you. Let me see. Sorry about the baby in the background there. Okay. Tasks, due today. Tasks by my groups. There it is. So it's called, what? Oh, that's an actual view I created. Well, it's like tasks assigned to a group I'm in or something like that. I don't remember what category I put it in. There we are. But it's a blog post that I did write. I don't know, but it basically tells you how to go in and tweak the camel query in the view itself to make it so that if you're in a group, it will show those, and it'll show and also show one that's assigned to you as an individual as well. So that's what that is. It's just somewhere in there. Okay, I'm going to have to wrap up. It's over. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Back to beach scene there. Okay, well, thanks everybody for coming, and I'll definitely have to pick this up. Next week I'm going to be teaching a training class, my week-long Power Hour, Power Users online class. You can learn more about SharePoint.rackspace.com/training. But for now, I will talk to you guys later, and I won't be able to pick this up next week, but we'll see what we're doing the week after that, and we'll be posting those. And look for us on Twitter. Thanks. Bye.